Is your project actually hurting your chances of landing an interview? If it is, it's usually not because you're using the wrong tools, but because you are making one major mistake that tells hiring managers that you are not ready for the real job. If you're new here, I'm Christine. I'm a former data director and a hiring manager who now helps data analysts and working professionals land high-impact analytical roles with confidence and clarity. Over the last few years, I have reviewed hundreds of portfolio projects and seen exactly which ones help you get hired and which ones get ignored. So let's dive in. Now, 70% of portfolios that I review aim to show things like, I can write SQL, I can build some charts, I can build a dashboard. But on the job, stakeholders don't actually care about this. They're curious about what you found and how it relates to them, which means the top mistake in portfolio projects is this. You prioritize the code and the technical aspects instead of the actual decision. While it's true that those aspects are some of the necessary skills, they are now the bare minimum. These days, data teams are prioritizing people who have real business judgment, analytical frameworks, data best practices, and can make real decisions. Remember that if a hiring manager looks at your project, they're usually only going to skim it. So they scan your project and they're asking themselves, can this person help me make decisions? Are they client and stakeholder ready? And do they think like a real data analyst? If your project does not answer those questions, it causes 3 key problems. Problem number 1 is that you look like a dashboard and not an analyst. Your job is to help tell the story behind what the numbers mean and help people understand what comes next. It's not just to report those numbers. If that's the case, you might as well be a dashboard. Problem number 2 is that you force the audience to do the interpretation. Now, on the job, stakeholders, leadership, exec, they don't want to work super hard to understand what your work actually means. If they have to guess what question you're answering, the definition of your metrics, why you thought that was most important, and what action the company should take next, they will just move on to someone whose project and resume makes that obvious. And problem number 3 is that your insights feel vague or generic. Now, I find that if you're focusing a lot on the technical aspects, the insights themselves stop at something like revenue went up by 20% or MacBook Air refunds went down by X%. Now, these can be true, but they're not actually useful. An insight is an observation with a clear hypothesis or root cause, something that basically explains why something happened and what should be done next. So while a finding sounds like revenue went up by 20%, an insight is more like revenue went up by 20%, mostly driven by an uptick in our cheaper plans. And this is what it means for the company. So let's talk about how to actually fix this. So you're going to restructure your project using something that I call decision-driven design. And there's 4 simple parts for this that are going to make sure that your project communicates value in the first few seconds. So the first part is decision. Make sure that when you're sharing about the company context, you say something like the business decision is blank. So for some example, something like the SaaS company is aiming to decide, should we focus next quarter's growth plan on acquiring new customers or reducing churn? Or this health insurance company is asking, what segment should we target to increase retention? Or the marketing manager at this company is asking, what marketing channel should we scale and which ones should we cut? If you cannot write the specific business questions that you're going to be answering, your project is going to look more like student work rather than something someone would do at a company. Part 2 is the North Star metrics. This is where you're going to write, I focus on these key metrics, and then define in non-technical terms the top 3 metrics that you are using as North Stars to analyze this data and make your recommendations. This step is also so important because it helps you isolate what columns in the data you should prioritize to clean, analyze, and look for patterns and anomalies. So if you've ever dealt with analysis paralysis or rabbit holing into a data set, it's probably because you skipped this step. So for example, the North Star metrics for a company looking at, should we focus next quarter on acquiring new customers or on reducing churn? They would look at North Star metrics like conversion rate, churn and retention, and cost of acquisition. These kinds of metrics are highly relevant to a marketing or product analyst role. So any hiring manager in that industry would see those metrics and also see you as having relevant experience. One of the fastest ways to look junior is to prioritize nothing and analyze everything. So defining the metrics and framing the problem this way is one of the best ways to look more experienced and confident. Part 3 is the recommendation. Now you can either put this up front or somewhere at the bottom after your insights. This is where you're going to write at least 2 to 4 bullets. The recommendation, so what should we do? And also the reason, what evidence supports it, and the stakeholder team. Who is this actually relevant to? You might be avoiding this because you're battling imposter syndrome and thinking, but I don't have anything worthwhile to actually recommend. But the reality is that on the job, we get hired and promoted not because we have the perfect answer, but because we can suggest an educated next step based on what we're seeing. So your recommendations don't have to be perfect, but they do have to have a structure, an audience, and clear supporting analysis. Which brings me to the last part. So part 4 is evidence or the actual analysis. Now this is where you're going to show your deep dive insights, your charts, your dashboard, and the assumptions assumptions and data quality checks that you made. Now notice that I did not say this is where we include our SQL or our queries or explain the code that we wrote. In portfolios, we should be aiming to show what looks like a final product for a non-technical stakeholder. So leave all the technical stuff in the actual files in GitHub. Don't narrate them in your write-up. Now this is how we move from a project that says, here's my charts and my dashboard, good luck, to here's the decision, here's the metrics, and what I recommend. And that is the thinking that we actually want to see. So now let's look at a quick comparison. There's gonna be one project that represents what most portfolio projects I see today look like and will actually hurt your chances of getting an interview, and one project by one of my students who then landed 3 data analyst offers, including one at TD Bank. If you wanna build a standout project like Joey, and not just build this project, but truly understand the business decisions and analytical thinking behind it, then check out my mentorship program down below. You get live mentorship and also all the analytical frameworks that helped her land these 3 job offers. Okay, so this first project is called Retail Performance Dashboard. It's a comprehensive analytical tool that transforms raw, detailed data into actionable insights designed to answer real business questions. It highlights my ability to merge technical expertise with a passion for solving problems and inspiring others through data. So right off the bat, this project is positioned as a learning project, not a stakeholder-ready project. You obviously wouldn't start a write-up for a real stakeholder or client in this way. The project title itself, also Retail Performance Dashboard, it clearly orients the project itself just around the technical side and the data side instead of the real business impact. So when we go into the overview, we can see there is a section on business questions answered. So it says what regions generate most revenue and profit, which product categories drive success and where are liabilities hiding, and how do trends in sales and profit evolve over time. So it does pose the questions, but there's no section talking about what the metrics are, how they are specifically defined, and why we've chosen these as the specific North Star metrics to focus on. Then as I scroll down, I get to features. So right away, we are talking about the technical aspects, so dynamic interactivity, key visualizations, and diving into the build of the actual dashboard instead of the things that a stakeholder or a hiring manager would actually care about, which is the so what. What did you actually find? Why is this important? How does it relate to me? And what would we do about this in the context of this company? Then when I go down here, I see the dashboard, and then finally, I reach the key insights section. But these are more like quick tidbit findings. They are not real insights. So for example, West region dominates in sales and profit while the South region underperforms. By how much? What percent? What benchmark are we saying this is compared to? When we say underperforms or overperforms, what's actually driving that? And what should we do about it? These small facts do not show any kind of analytical judgment. These are facts that would be very easy for any kind of AI tool to take a look at your dashboard and report the same exact thing. The key insight section should also be most of your physical write-up. So it should take up about like 60 to 70% of that final page. Then at the bottom, recommendations. So number 1, double down on high performing regions, reduce return rates, and leverage seasonality. Again, this doesn't tie back to the evidence or the numbers that you found. It doesn't really relate to any specific stakeholder. And it's not really clear why this person came to these kinds of recommendations because there's not a very clear link between these two. Then as I keep scrolling down, I see data model and technology, data preparation using the Python script, how to use the dashboard, caveats and assumptions, and then the files in the repository. So more than 50% of this write-up is focused on the technical aspects. And as a stakeholder or hiring manager, I'm left wondering, what should I actually do with this project? What are the insights that are most meaningful that I should act on? And I would definitely not feel like this project is ready to put in front of a client or a real stakeholder. Okay, so here's a sample by a student named Joey, and she first off names the project something company relevant. So Tech Hub, e-commerce analysis. Then we go into the company context and background. So we explain who the company is, and we immediately go into those initial business questions organized by different teams. So sales trends, focus on revenue to assess year-over-year growth, product performance, evaluate performance across different categories to identify top sellers and underperformers, loyalty program performance, assess the effectiveness of the program and overall revenue contribution, and also marketing channel effectiveness, measure the effectiveness in order to optimize budget allocation. Now, I will say this is covering a very wide breadth and scope of different questions you could answer. Your project does not necessarily need to be as wide. You could focus on one of these kinds of questions and just deep dive into one section. So let's say Joey decided to focus on the product performance section. then her North Star metric section would look something like this. She would define the metrics, total order count, total sales, refund rate, and average order value in a way that's really easy for a non-technical stakeholder or audience member to understand. Then Joey goes into their deep dive insights. So we have the executive summary of insights, and then we have visualizations for each section that tell a very clear story. And each of these insights themselves, I'll show you an example in a second, go beyond what the number is actually saying and ties it back to the business context. So you can see we also have product performance, the loyalty program, and in marketing channel performance, for example, she says revenue from email marketing experienced a steady rise from 8 to 16% of traffic, doubling in share, showing effectiveness of CRM and remarketing efforts. Though still dominant, there's been a big decline of sales revenue from direct traffic from 86 to just 76%, and sales revenue led from affiliate and social media marketing remains small. It's just 2 to 5%, which means that these channels are underperforming and might need evaluation of strategy and partnerships. So she goes beyond what those initial numbers say and actually ties it back to the business context and what it means for the company and what they should look into. Then she has the recommendation section at the bottom. Now this is fine, not a huge preference between if it's at the very top or at the end, and the recommendation section can look something like this. So we have a table here with a priority, action, owner, expected impact, and metric to track. So not only do we have the action, but we've also showed our judgment for what's most important, what team it relates to, what we should see if that recommendation is successful, and also the North Star metric that determines whether or not it was the right action to take or not. So for example, P0, build a repeat purchase program. Post-purchase email sequences, replenish reminders, and next product recommendations. This is going to be relevant to the marketing and customer experience team, and we want to track the repeat purchase rate to see if this was the right move to make, and the target is going to be 25%. Then at the end, Joey has the appendix, which has some supplementary information about product refunds, and then goes into the assumptions and caveats. But 80% of the write-up is about insights and explaining the why behind the trends that she's observing. This not only shows her excellent visualization skills, but her ability to think and operate like an analyst on the job. So you might be thinking, but I'm not working at a real company. I don't have a real stakeholder. As you can see, you don't necessarily need them to create a strong project. You do need to show that you understand how stakeholders think. So if you're stuck, find a data set that is relevant to your target industry and pose some business questions related to limited budgets, or trying to optimize resource or inventory allocation, or trying to understand user behavior or seasonality or churn and acquisition. So if you want to fix an existing project today, start with this. First, frame the business questions and decisions at the very top, then make sure that you're clearly defining your top 3 North Star metrics, summarize your recommendations, and make sure that your insights go beyond the numbers and tie these numbers back to real business context, explaining the why or posing a hypothesis for what these insights actually mean. This way your project is framed around impact, not about the tools. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe and check out my next one here. See you there.